Hey everybody, and we're back in the shop working on some engines again. This was the one that was in the honing tank, and I think with the sunlight you can see the quality of the thing in there. Yeah, there we go. You can see the crosshatch, and what you're after is a 45-degree angle on that. You don't want it too shallow, you don't want it too steep. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but you're always shooting for that 45-degree crosshatch for your best oil retention. And as you remember yesterday, we honed this one, gave it the plateau finish. I pulled it out this morning, pressure tested it, everything is good, and Dave's coming to pick this up on Thursday. So there's his pistons, cylinder head's been machined, and I am tearing into another L head this morning, and I'll take you over there, see if we can work our way through the crowded shop here. Okay, we're in the teardown area. This is our next engine rebuild. This is a MB engine. Somebody really made a mess of it. Just look at those core plugs they put in there. And they switched it over to gear drive, took the chain drive away. It is a disaster inside there. There's so much rust built up inside the block. But the worst thing is, we already have 80 over pistons in there, and the bore measures just on the top here in a couple cylinders measures 3 inches 210 to 212. 80 over piston fits in there at 3 inch 205, so we can't save that. I talked with the customer. This is Adolfo's block. Hope you're watching, Adolfo. Just want to go over what's going on with your engine. When I took the pulley off, they were missing the spacer that goes there, and they had this piece in backwards, and I think you can see why. This keyway is completely mangled up, and let's go over here to the bench. They put a massive pulley on there for some reason. I don't know why. It's the wrong pulley. Let's grab the key. I got the key in my hand. That is just swimming around in that hole. So that's been shucking back and forth for quite some time. Look at that. So the crank, that area can be fixed. It's a real pain, and you've got to put a lot of heat into it to weld it up, and you could get a little distortion there. And this engine was running, so the pulley didn't reach this, so I'm sure it was shucking back and forth. I don't know what we're going to find when we look in there, but so far I'm not happy with the crankshaft, and I'm not happy with the block. I do think I have another block available to build this one. Look what they did back there with the throttle linkage plate. They just kind of peened that over instead of using a nut. I don't know what happened there, but they've got regular hardware store studs in there, and not what I was expecting when I took this one apart. I understand it was running. I don't know how good it was running, and from the amount of rust and junk in there and the way the valves look, I don't think it was running too good. So I'm just going to tear into this one a little bit more and see what we can salvage and what we can put into the new block, and we'll take it from there. But this is what happens. Like I say, it should be a chain drive in there, and I think a lot of guys are just trying to do this stuff at home, and they're kind of messing things up. You know, if you don't have an idea what you're doing, I've got plenty of videos out there. Take it to a good machine shop. I know they're getting harder to find. I hear it almost weekly about guys getting engines back that are terrible. Watch the videos, watch what I do, and then when you go to your machine shop, if they don't want to do that kind of stuff, you know, run from them. So let's take this one apart a little bit more and see what we can salvage. Okay guys, we're continuing on with this engine teardown. Every time I take something apart, there's another surprise in there. This was a terrible rebuild, whoever did it last time. But I do get a lot of questions about how I get that timing gear off. And I just got a puller set up out of my Snap-on puller set. The CJ2002 is the number of the puller set. It'll do differential bearings. I pull steering wheels with it. I pull timing gears with it. It's a good setup to have. If you're thinking of one puller kit to get, that is a very good one. Make sure we're going the right direction. I got a impact gun on this. Okay, and when I do it, I always send the teeth out that way. There's nothing to grab onto close to there, so you send them out that way. You got your spreader bar inside there, and it's very easy to pull them off. And look, we got a bolt missing on the cam retainer. So, like I say, this engine was a disaster. I got the pan off, huge amount of sludge in there. So this engine wasn't going to run very long, but we're on it, and we'll try and get it fixed up. But just wanted to show you guys how I go about pulling that off, because I do get a lot of questions about that. So hope that helps you out. Okay, I've got the block apart. Aside from being way oversized, the main caps are all correct. Nobody's screwed around with those. But instead of sleeving this, we are going to drag another block in here. And when I took the rods out, early rods had 7/16 studs, later rods had 3/8. It's not a good idea to mix the two. The weight difference, it does add just a little too many grams of weight difference. So I don't have a matched set of rods. They had two pistons in backwards with the squirt hole on the wrong side, and the crankshaft is a later crankshaft. It doesn't match the engine, and like I say, that keyway right there is a mess. So I may take one of my cranks that I have in stock and put it in there. I'm gonna have to get a set of matched rods. I'll weigh up his 3 that are 3/8 and see if I can match a 4th one to it. We've got to get some miscellaneous pieces that we're missing for the crankshaft, and I got to get a new pulley. But camshaft doesn't look bad. I naturally will replace the valve springs. We've got to replace the guides. Those were all installed incorrectly, and they didn't get the height right to set them at. The valves are not worth fixing. We'll get some new valves. I don't know why they welded this up. They're right in here. They put a big gob of weld there. I don't understand why they did that. But we'll get that a little nicer. The cam retainer plate was broken on the one bolt that was there, and obviously I found another bolt in the cover. So very hard to believe this was running, but that's what they tell me. I've got a bench full of parts here. We've got a tremendous amount of sludge in the oil pan. and somebody didn't really care about the last rebuild on this thing. So we're going to put this block to the side. I'm going to go outside and we'll grab another block, and it's a good block, but somebody made a mess of two of the valve seats, and I'll show you and hopefully prevent anybody else from doing that. And this engine, it wouldn't have lasted very long. On chain drive engines, we don't have that oiler for the gears, so there was no oil spray getting on the timing gears, because you can't just take a chain drive motor and make it a gear drive motor, because if you don't realize things like that, it will be short-lived. So if you're thinking of that, make sure you really plan it through. This should have been a chain drive motor. It wasn't. They did just about everything wrong that you could possibly do on an engine, and this block will need a lot of work, but we'll keep this one as a core and one day maybe get to it. But I'm gonna go outside, get another one, and see if that one's see what the bore is on that one, and we'll see what we could do. Like I say, this is probably gonna be, we'll make it into a later two-way motor. We'll put a counterweighted crank in it. I don't think I'm going to bother with this one. It'll be too much time and money to fix that one. But I do have a 2020 sitting over there. 20 on the mains, 20 on the rods. And we'll go with that one. We'll make it into a CJ2A motor with timing gears and a timing gear oil jet. And we'll just try and make a good engine out of a lot of bad, messed up parts here. Okay guys, we got the early chain drive block over here, and here is a CJ2A block, a later one, a later 2A. And first thing you're going to see is the timing gear oil jet, which we don't have over here. And the front cover, this is off of something else. This wasn't off an early engine. You see they welded it there. That's because on a chain drive engine, the distance from here to here is shorter. So this would have just been a hole right here. That would have been a hole. So this one, you can see, we're going to have to put this back on because it fits his frame. And we're going to have to take that back out again because the distance from here to here is much greater. You can see where that bolt hole is there. There's not much meat left underneath it. And you can see this bolt hole, we got quite a bit. So that's just a difference with the later block. But the main thing is that timing gear oil jet. Like I say, the timing gears on that would have failed in no time. I don't think it ran too long. I think maybe they started it and said, hey, look, it runs. But I don't think it was run too long. So we're going to pull this one apart. Well, it's mostly apart. I got the cam out and the lifter, the tappets and stuff, and the springs and everything. But I'm going to show you something on the top side, which I see quite a bit, and I shouldn't see it, but I do see it quite a bit. Let me flip this motor over and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay guys, I got you zoomed in on exhaust 2 and 3. And I see this quite a bit. People think that these seats from the factory are inserts. This is the cast iron block. The seats are machined into the cast iron block. And this is what happens when people try and get them out. They just start ruining things. So now we're going to have to cut and put a seat in there. We're going to put seats on all the exhaust anyway, but if it doesn't cover that, we're going to have to drill that and pin it. And like I say, I see this all the time. The seats on these engines from the factory were just machined right into the cast iron. A lot of people don't think that's possible, and they think the cast iron can't handle it. That's how all the early engines were. It wasn't until the later, way later, you know, CJ5s and stuff, where you got hardened seats from the factory. Fords and Chevys and Willys and all the early engines, they machined the seats right in the block. Don't go in there with a cut-off wheel and think that you're going to split a seat and pop it out. It's just not going to happen. So this is about the condition I get blocks in these days. It seems like as soon as somebody gets their hands on them, they do something wrong. But we're going to try and salvage this block. I'm going to start measuring it up. I'm going to start cleaning it up, and we'll see what it's all about. And like I say, we're going to put seats in, all the exhaust. But that's all you really need. You don't really need it on the intake, and we've got to put them anyway, so we're going to do all of them. But let's hope that this block is free of cracks, and I'll take you along and show you how it goes. Okay, we have this block completely stripped down. Got the bearing shells out, the little bearing retainer pins. I had a oil gallery plug stuck there. Had to drill that out. Cam is out, the tappets are out, everything that was left in this block. We're just going to remove the core plugs, and the next time you see it, we will be washing it. Give it a hot water bath. I did quick measure the bores. This is a standard block, which is very nice. You don't get those too often. At the top of number 2, it's already 10 over, so we may wind up with 20s or 30s in here, but still quite a small piston from what's been going on lately. And everything looks good, so we'll give it a hot water pressure wash with soapy water. We'll clean out all the oil galleries, we'll get all the junk off here, and then we'll move on to magnafluxing, make sure there's no cracks anywhere, and then just start with our standard procedure of boring, honing, fitting the pistons, figuring out what we're going to do for a crank since that one's kind of messed up, and we'll go over the rear main seals again, and this is going to turn out to be a very nice engine, as long as this block turns out as good as I think it's gonna. So it's getting toward the end of the day today. We're gonna call it quits on this. Tomorrow, hopefully nothing pops up that's critical. We'll give this a wash tomorrow morning, and I will show you the process of the magnaflux again. I've been getting a lot of questions on that lately, but I will show you the common areas where these blocks crack, and we'll go over those, and then we'll start washing all those parts that we removed. So I will catch up with you on the next video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned on this L-head build.